months ago, I bought the one Nintendo console I had never really played and knew very little about, the Virtual Boy. I was always curious and decided I wanted to get one and learn about the system and its library. Since the North American library for this failed system was so small, at only 14 games, I figured, hey, why not try and acquire each of those games, play them through, review them, and become a Virtual Boy expert. Today finally marks the first video in that series of reviews, where I'll be playing 3D Tetris. I had been putting off starting the series for a while now, and funny enough, another game actually inspired me to start this one, because I was actually thinking about picking up Tetris Effect Connected on my MetaQuest, and figured, hey, why play that when I could play the true virtual reality Tetris experience? I'll start off with a fun fact. 3D Tetris was actually the 14th and final North American Virtual Boy game released, and also, the way it lined up, it's the only Virtual Boy game that came out after I was born. Releasing in March 22nd of 1996, 3D Tetris was developed by T&E Soft, who isn't really around anymore. Eventually they dissolved into and merged with Spike Chunsoft in 2013. This game is one of the pricier Virtual Boy games, nowhere near the price of the most expensive game, but it's probably the third most expensive, and if you want to get your hands on it, it's probably going to run you a couple $100. So what makes 3D Tetris different than the Tetris we all know and love? Well, like the name implies, it's the third dimension. This game isn't like Tetris Effect VR, where it's just the interesting use of depth perception still playing with regular 2D Tetris. No, this game decided to get weird and make you fill in a 3D cube. The goal of the game is to completely fill in layers of this cube, which, like normal Tetris, will remove that layer and give you points. Seems simple enough at first glance, but you won't always get the pieces to fit cleanly, and then you have to cover up spots, leaving nearly completed layers unable to finish. If you stack up too high, you don't automatically lose, but you'll just lose the lowest layer of your stack and have to play with one less layer until you lose the next, and then you finally leave you with one layer remaining, which is basically a death sentence. If you are able to finish a layer though, you will gain back another so you can recover, and if you make some bad moves, it's really easy to let things get out of hand. I have not played my Virtual Boy a whole hell of a lot, so I was not super accustomed to the button layout on the controller, and it's not so easy to glance down when your face is inside of this thing. And on top of all that, I was having some early troubles learning the way to orient the pieces in this 3D space. This made early runs difficult, but over time I started to get more familiar and actually started liking the feel of the Virtual Boy controller. It is ugly as sin, and I still think the dual D-pads is a heinous decision, but this game in particular kinda did work for that odd design choice. Left D-pad moves pieces around the board, right D-pad lets you reorient, and the A and B buttons let you spin the pieces left and right. To make them fall faster, you hit the R button, and the L button lets you recenter the constantly rotating camera if you need a top-down view. It all felt like it fit together well by the end of it. Also, shout out to the L and R buttons being on the back of this controller rather than on the top. It was a surprisingly comfortable controller with these handles. So there are three main modes in this game. The standard mode, where you just go for high scores, the center fill mode, where you try and create symmetric patterns around the center of the cube, and the puzzle mode. The first two modes have easy, medium, and hard difficulty options to let you play how you want, but of these, I only really played the standard. I did not play center fill mode. It wasn't really working for me, and it was confusing what I was supposed to really be doing. I had the most fun playing standard mode on medium difficulty. Easy was a little bit too easy, really small shapes that were very simple to find the best place to put them, a little too slow paced for me. Normal felt like a good challenge and mixed in a good variety of shapes to make you think a little harder, and then there was hard mode. I do think hard mode was probably the most interesting because it gave you some really strange shapes to make you sort out, but it was a little bit too much for my little head where I was losing faster than I would like to. But yeah, the last mode was the one I spent the most time in and the one that you actually need to beat to roll credits in this game. That was puzzle mode. There are 20 levels, each with a final shape the game wants you to create, and a series of shapes it would like for you to make that shape with. This order is the same each time, so it's less of a challenge of skill and more of a challenge of you learning how to build this puzzle. I thought this was a really interesting change of pace, and it kind of reminded me of like a reverse Picross puzzle in a way. Like, here's a picture, show me how I did it. The difficulty of these puzzles was odd though. I don't think there was any real consistency. Some early ones were really hard and some later ones were very simple, but once you learn all the tricks, there's only so many ways you can make these shapes, so you can definitely learn your way through it. When you finish a puzzle, you're rewarded with the fun little animation of the thing you just made, along with a jingle. Basically like, Hey, look at this airplane you just made. Here's a fun little goofy, silly animation. I bet back in the mid 90s when 3D gaming was still very early and a lot of people hadn't experienced it, it was pretty neat. It was a little corny now, but still pretty fun. I enjoyed the fact that I could roll credits in this game. I honestly wasn't expecting to be able to beat this game, but seeing credits helped me give that satisfaction that I had seen what the game had to offer. Overall, I had a pretty good time with 3D Tetris. I do like Tetris in general, I do like puzzle games, and I do like an excuse to get this big, silly red headset out to play it, so this kind of feels like a game made for me. Something I want to do in this series is keep a running list of the rankings of my favorite Virtual Boy games as I play them. So since 3D Tetris is first, it gets to sit on top of the leaderboards at number 1 for now. Congratulations, 3D Tetris. You are the best. That's all I got for this video. I look forward to trying to be a little more consistent with the Virtual Boy stuff. I have 2 other games on the shelf to get to at the time of this recording, and I look forward to trying them out. If you like this video, it would mean a lot if you could drop a like or subscribe so you can follow along going forward. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.